Okay. Do you want to talk about this car?
Well, you guys remember in the past, you've seen this car rolled in. What was it? Is this 77, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
The guy brought it in to us to do some repairs. You can see here's your frame under the back, what's left of it. You can see nothing left.
On here.
Here's all your inner, look at this. You know, here's your quarter. Here's your shock. It's not even.
Yeah, that'll help.
On the back here, here's the whole back half of your car through the back end. As you can see.
Oh, good God.
You can see the leaf spring. It goes up through that subframe that you saw, and there's not even anything left here.
What subframe?
There's nothing left. So this gentleman wants to redo this car because he bought it brand new. He's the original owner. 6-cylinder automatic, this one.
Did he park it in a swamp?
I don't know. Anyway, so we've got full quarters to do, inners, the frame, the floor pans. Like basically the only thing on this car we're going to salvage is the trunk lid, the hood, and the roof. That is it. Everything else is going to be done. He wants to do it. So there's a...
I don't even know what to say about this car. Why do we always get the, here's a roof, build me a car?
Because other shops will not do this stuff. Most shops are ICBC, and even the restoration shops that do work, let's face it, they would probably go out and look for a donor car rather than fix this. Which, I'm not knocking them, they are right. Why wouldn't you look for a donor car and then swap over what you can? But to some people, sentimental, values are more important. And to this guy, it's like, no fucking way, he said. I don't care how rotten it is, I want you to fix it. So you know what? You explain to them the situation. It's probably going to cost you a little more to do all this than it would to find a better body, but they want to do it. And at the end of the day, like I always say, the customer is the boss. So I always explain to the people that a cheaper way of doing it, save them money. He unfortunately does not want to get rid of this. In his mind, he thinks if he takes it all apart and scraps the body, somebody else is going to come along and say, oh, I'm going to take that and I'm going to fix it up. And he's like, no, that can't be, because he bought this car new and it means something to him. And he wants to pass it on down to his grandchildren. So that's it. I get where he's coming from. There's no arguing that point, and we're going to fix it. And yeah, most people don't do this. And it's funny sometimes you see these guys on the TV shows, and they make these TV shows with so much drama because they get a car in, it's got a rust hole like that, and they're like, oh my God, look how rusted out this thing is. And I'm thinking, fuck, these people watching this TV show should turn on Old Time Garage on YouTube and see what the fuck I'm doing rather than what those assholes are doing. But anyway, that's what's going on here. So we're gonna get the diff out of it today, and obviously we're gonna put it up on a rotisserie right here. We got sitting behind me here.
You figured out a way to do that because there's no real mounting points.
Steve and I was looking at it, and Steve suggested putting, because it's pretty solid up here. We'll mount something up in this area. The front, we can mount it to the front frame. I won't roll out the front frame of it yet. We'll mount it to that. So that's what's going on there.
Even all kinds of yikes.
Even the front end here, when I took it all apart, because we're going to be taking the subframe out, and we're going to be getting all this blasted and powder coated. But even when I took the shock mounts broken, here's the coil, and look, you can tell that's been broken for ages, because it wouldn't be that rusty if it just snapped. That was the coil on the driver's side. And this gentleman drives this car every summer. He insures this car from like May until like September, October. Now he doesn't go on road trips, but he drives it all around town.
Maybe it's like his Christine and it takes care of him, because otherwise I don't think this car would be
I don't know. I drove it here.
Together for the
I drove it here in the parking lot, and the fucking thing is just like creak, groan, and I mean, maybe you haven't seen that. I mean, look through the floors even. I mean, look at that sucker inside.
Was carpet covering all this, so he didn't really realize how bad it was?
Yeah, it was all covered up. He did know it was rusty, though. He knew it was rusty. He knew there were issues.
You can see the leaf spring through there. Isn't that nice?
He's had it repainted once in its life since he's owned it, and it's back. And this is the original color. He didn't have the jams done. They just resquirted the outside of it. So, yeah, this is what we're working on today. So we're going to get the doors off today, the trunk lid off today, we'll get all the leaf springs out of the back, we'll get the diff out of it. Basically, the car will just be an empty shell sitting here by the end of the day. And then next week, Steve and I will attempt to get it on the rotisserie, and that's it. And then onward we will go.
So I'd like to mention that this kind of work, you said already that most shops won't touch it because they'll just look for a donor car because they don't want to spend the time to do it.
They would, and that would be honestly the cheaper way for the customer to go about it.
So that's kind of our niche market. That's what we do. Like, we can fix anything here.
We can fix anything, but at the same token, people have to understand, you can fix anything as long as you got this.
Yeah.
You know, this is not going to be $100,000 bill. It just isn't. This car is probably, I can't say numbers because that's between me and the customer.
Yeah.
But I tell you right now, this car with a rebuilt engine, tranny, all new suspension, all new brakes, rebuilt diff, new leaf springs, all the body panels included, all painted. Put it this way, everything done except for wiring and interior at my shop is probably going to be, I said this is no $100,000 bill. I'm probably going to be at around half of that, maybe a tad bit more. And that's me supplying parts and labor. So you tell me if that's a good or bad number.
So I don't understand then, because like I worked at a couple of other shops, and number one, they wouldn't touch this, but number two, you know, they would have been well over $100,000. So at what point do the customers say, okay, yeah, or okay, no, for how much they're going to spend? And why do they always complain when it gets to that level? And it's like, take this to another shop and see what they charge, or take this to another shop and they'll tell you to go pound sand and hit the bricks.
Yeah, I don't understand what goes on there. That's a hard one. I think at the end of the day, if you give someone a quote and you say, look, this is going to be 50 grand all in, and I think when it starts hitting the 30 grand, they're getting panic mode, and all of a sudden I think they think that, hey, I never thought it would hit 50. I thought you were just throwing a number out there. But
yeah,
you know, but I mean, 50 grand is cheap. Like I say, you take it to another shop, this car would easily be well over 100. I mean, because other shops have got way more overhead than I do here. My rates are probably, you know as well as I do, my rates are probably one of the lowest rates around. Actually, my customers
I think they are the lowest, yeah.
My customers tell me I should raise my rates all day long. And that's probably why I have ripped up jeans and torn up jackets, is because my rates are so low. But I do this because I love this. And to me, at the end of the day, I just want to save old cars and see more old cars on the road. And I want to keep people happy. And I want people to say, you know what, I went to Old Time Garage and they built me a car that I was proud to drive and I could take to a car show. And you know, it looked awesome, and people liked it and commented on it all day long. And I didn't have to spend $100,000 or $200,000 or something like that you other guys have to spend.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, more shops have to charge obviously a higher rate than we do because they're overhead. They got the big building, and I mean, what are most shops nowadays? They're starting, I think, a minimum $85 and going up to $125 an hour. And I'm nowhere near those prices.
I think they're more 100 to 130.
Yeah, and I'm not even near that.
No.
I'm not near those prices. But look how steady worked we are. Holy God, we've got 9 projects on the go right now, and we've got 2 more coming in the month of February, and at least 3 more for March and April.
Yeah.
And you know, people can phone around and ask. The quality of the work here is just the same as you get out of them other shops. We do good quality work here. But in the same token too, you know, you always get the odd asshole that writes in and says something on the video, says, oh, well, you sure did that. That wasn't the exact proper way of doing something like that. And it's like, yeah, but if you watched my videos from the beginning, not just that one, that customer only had $1,000 to maybe spend on that, on something I was doing there. Or yes, it wasn't exactly proper. It should have been done properly, but that was $3 or $4 grand. He couldn't afford that. So I did the best I could for what he had for that $1,000.
Right.
I try and work within people's budgets. So it's not like you come to me and say, Rick, I want you to do this car. All I got is $10,000. I want to roll out of here. I would say, well, go pound sand. I can't do that. But I'll say for $10,000, this is how far I can get with it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't take money from people up front, and they pay me every 2 weeks, and they come here and they get to look at the job. We take tons of pictures, and here we are on YouTube showing this shit.
Yeah.
I like it that way because I want people to get involved in their cars. I want them to see, so they feel like they were a part of this build too. They weren't just a guy that was constantly, give me 5,000, give me 4,000, give me 3,000, and then they're like, where the fuck did all my money go? And then they never saw it. They don't get it explained to them, and then, like you say, they yank it out of them shops, and then they take it around to another shop. And unfortunately, guys, for customers out there watching, when you start taking it from shop to shop to shop, guys like myself and other shops that are watching me right now will agree, we don't know what they did or where they left off, so we kind of got to go backwards a few steps and dig into it. They might have done a perfect job, but we don't know because we have to go backwards now. So you kind of better, I guess at the end of the day what I'm saying is really do your checking up.
Do your research.
Do your research and find a good shop, and that's it, and stick with that shop. And don't give them tons of thousands of dollars of money up front. They don't need that. They shouldn't need it.
And don't necessarily take their word for it either. Like when you're asking for references and stuff like that, don't necessarily just go with the references they give you.
That's
Phone
right.
around to part shops and find out what their local reputation is around the city or whatever, around the town, because the part shops will know.
Exactly. They can tell by just what they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they know. I mean, that's it. I mean, to get into this business, I've had lots of young guys come up to me and they say, I love what you're doing, and I'll be dead honest with you. If you're an honest guy doing this business, if you're an honest guy, and you're not in debt like myself, because I'm not in debt. I just pay for things as I buy them, as I can afford it. If you're not in debt and you're an honest guy, there is no money in this business. Now you're probably thinking, what are you talking about, Rick? You've got 8 cars and you own a house. Mind you, I'm still paying for the house. And you got food in your belly. Yes, that's true, but I'm saying, the guys that you see driving around with the Harleys, the fucking jacked up 4x4s, they got the fancy trailers, they got the jet skis, they got the boats, they're living in a mansion. Most of those guys are in debt up to their ass, or they got something else going on the side, which we won't discuss, or they're ripping people off. Because honestly, if you're working your ass off in these cars, there is no money in it. Because if there was, all body shops would be doing old cars again. They're not. They're doing ICBC claims.
Yep.
There's no money in this business. I make money, don't get me wrong. But I don't...
You make money to live, you don't make money to get rich.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And you know, I mean, Cedel, you're out there. You're one of my guys. Do you agree or disagree? I mean, he's building cars. If you guys haven't seen his channel, look up Cedel. This guy fucking does awesome work, like top of the line, top notch work. You think I do good work? You should see his channel. This guy's unbelievable. But there really is, you survive at this.
Yeah.
You survive. You don't, you know, unless you are the guy that can, that you do a car like this, and realistically it should only be 50 or 60 grand, but you build a customer 100, 120. Well, then you're pocketing 60 grand.
Yeah.
You know, so then maybe you just don't make your money at this, or else body shops would be doing it. Remember back in the day, guys? We all remember body shops. You could roll anything in and they would fix it. They don't anymore, do they? It's all ICBC claims, because that's where they make their money, because they can get a car brought in and the ICBC pays them 2 hours to put on a fender that takes them 1 hour, and there's where the money is. Where this, you have to fight and struggle and deal with rusty bolts and fucking, you have to bring the torches out and all the bullshit. Realistically, a differential on this car when it was new would come out in less than an hour. I bet you I'm going to be under here today for at least 2.5 hours, because it's rusted, it's old. You can't go by book time no more. That's why on these jobs when people come to me, it's just by the hour. I can never give you an exact quote. I don't know. I'll give you a ballpark, and that's why I don't take money from you. So as we go along, every 2 weeks you pay me, you get involved and you get to say, oh my God, Rick just pulled the quarter panel off. Look what he found in behind here that he didn't see before. And then I explained to you, now do you see where the extra money's going to come in? That's what it's about.
Yeah. I wish people would take the pictures that we give them too, from the start of the build to the end of the build, and take those to car shows with them, because, you know, if somebody at a car show, this has happened to us quite a lot, you know, people at car shows will go, oh, you spent how much and this is what you got? But they never see what we started out with. We start out with stuff like this.
That's
and
right.
like completely rotten vehicles. And I wish that people would have a before and after and see what we did for the money that they spent.
And most of the time, the people that say that to them are guys that have spent $100,000 and up on their car.
Yeah.
And a guy will roll in that's only spent maybe 20 or 30,000 with me. And if they could see at the beginning that it started out like this, and it ended up like new for 20, 30 grand, they would realize, holy fuck, but they're not nitpicking the car. No one really nitpicks our work. What they say, if anything, is they'll look at it and they'll say, oh, well, the door gap's not the same on this side as his passenger side. Well, because that guy didn't pay me. I can get him the same, but that guy didn't pay me to put the doors on, and sometimes you weld in here. I don't weld to the door, I weld to the body, and you make the gaps exactly the same on either side, but that guy didn't pay for that. He said, I just want you to get the doors lined up the best you could. I want it to be like factory. But nowadays people build cars beyond what factory was.
Yeah.
So they pull up next to the guy that did the car that was beyond factory, that spent all that money, and they got the same car, but they're comparing it, and the guy with the big money is like, oh, look at your paint job. It doesn't look quite as good as mine. Well, because theirs has been wet sanded and polished. Mine hasn't. My paint job is a $2,500 paint job that looks absolutely shiny and beautiful, which you're going to see later on in another video coming up of our Pontiac we did. And they're comparing that to a guy that spent $10,000 for a paint job that's been wet sanded and polished. But most of those guys don't understand. They don't know. They think when they go get a paint job for $10,000, they're like, my paint job cost me $10,000 more. They don't understand that the shop that did it incorporated the wet sand and polish into it, which takes more than the paint job itself. Wet sanding and polishing, the average car is $2 to $3 grand. So they don't realize that. They just think that's how the paint job turned out. Most people, because they don't know. This is why here at Old Time Garage we try and educate you. We try and bring you in here. We try and let you be a part of the build as a customer. This is why we do this. This is why we don't take the money and we bring you in every 2 weeks and we say it. But mind you though, on that hand, we'll throw the other note out there. If you don't fucking pay me on payday, on that Friday, and there's no second or third chance, what I do is when you do show up, unless you got in an accident or someone died in your family, I don't care if you're sick, drunk, hungover, whatever, if you do show up 2 or 3 days late, your car is shoved outside, you give me my money, and you get the fuck out. Because I've got a lineup, years going on here right now. Payday for me is every 2 weeks, and that is it. And the nice thing is when you bring your car in, you can see you brought it in on this date, so you know 2 weeks from now there's a payday. 2 weeks from then there's a payday. So you know on that day it's my payday. Once you fuck me, it's out. There's no second or third chances. I don't care. And I'm not a storage lot either. Don't bring your car here and say I can only spend $500 a month. That's it. $500 is 1 day labor for me. So we don't do that.
We're at 15 minutes, almost 16 minutes.
Well, I guess we better say goodbye to all the YouTubers
I think
out there.
so.
That's it, and we'll show you the Pontiac coming up in the next video. And thanks for subscribing. And hopefully, some novice guy learns something out of this and he finds the right shop and do your research. Please do your research. Okay, it's a good time at Old Time. See you later.